There is also another area to explore the birth chart, and that lies in the use of divisional charts. In Western traditions, they usually call these harmonic charts. Like the name suggests, this is a method of dividing a house into more parts. This is used as a secondary technique to look more deeply into the horoscope. We have already seen the mathematics involved in astrology. Again, we won't be going into that. Parashara talks about the 16 main divisions of the chart. Of course, the chart can be divided into many different parts. These 16 seemed to have been important for Parasha, as they look into many important areas of our lives. There has not been a lot of literature on this topic. Even in the Brihad Parasha Hora Shastra, these divisional charts are only mentioned briefly. Perhaps the ancients assumed that we would apply our intellect and wisdom to decipher the inner meanings of these charts. These charts are divisions of the Rashi chart or the birth chart we know. They are a surgical and detailed view into a particular house. If we cannot get more information by looking at a single house, we'll look towards these divisions. So it is also not mentioned if we could see degrees, aspects, and if we could also form yogas from these planetary combinations in these divisional charts. The intellect probably leads us towards the idea of karakas, as Parashara has mentioned. So we could map out each chart to a number and a planet associated with the chart to help guide us. So these are the 16 divisional charts and the area of life they represent. The first chart is the most important and should be used primarily to see the entire life. The Rashi chart or the D1 chart. We have already talked about this chart extensively. From the natural Aries ascendant or the Kalpurush, the sun is exalted in the first house, the Aries sign. So the Karaka for the D1 chart is the sun, showing the soul in this incarnation. The next division is the Hora or the D2 chart. This is the chart we see wealth from, as well as our family and all the stored values. So a deeper view into the second house matters. So from the natural Kalpurush chart, it is the Taurus zodiac, with the energies of Venus and Moon, and the Karaka of the second house is Jupiter. So in the Hora chart, Venus, Moon and Jupiter would be important grahas to observe. One thing to note is that the numbers represent the division, so D2 means the house is divided into two equal parts. In the 30 degree zodiac, this would be 15 degrees for each house. The D3 would be dividing the zodiac into 3 parts, giving us 10 degrees and so forth. So the D3 chart, also called the Drekanna, shows our will, power and our siblings. So this lands us onto the energies of Mars, representing specifically these two areas. Mars is also the Karaka for the third house and our willpower. So Mars becomes important in this chart. The D4 chart or the Dashamsha, the fourth division, reveals our fortune and our land and property. So the moon becomes important in this chart. Even Mercury can be related to fortunes. The D7 or the Dashamsha chart is seen for our dynasty. Obviously in our modern world, this would be our creations and children. And the Karaka for children is Jupiter. So Jupiter would be important here. Looking at Venus would also be wise, being the Graha for creative force. Then comes the Navamsha, the 9th division. The Navamsha chart is the most famous divisional chart, and many Jyotishis never look at the D1 without looking into the Navamsha. These are the energies of the 9th house, so the Navamsha is our destiny. and all the significations of Jupiter, graduations, achievements, and even the spouse and marriage partner. The Navamsha is seen mainly as we come of age. The ancients thought this chart is the most important out of all the divisions, as it was seen as an auspicious thing to follow one's dharma. For this chart, all the planets are important, as this chart is the destiny of this incarnation. So the planets in the D1 should be analyzed in the D9 also, to see the type of fruits the planets would eventually bear. A fascinating chart indeed. The Dashamsha, or the D10 chart, is the 10th division. The Navamsha showed us our dharma. The Dashamsha shows us our karma, the actions we would perform in this incarnation. So career is seen from this chart, and all the karakas of the 10th house, the Sun, Mercury, Jupiter, but most importantly, Saturn. Saturn is our professional life, so Saturn is the most important graha in this chart. This chart gives us more details into our professional lives and which areas would be fruitful if pursued. The Dashamsha is the D12 chart. This is solely seen for our parents. So the Sun and the Moon would be important for this chart, as well as Rahu and Ketu, as our parents represent our incarnation also. We know Rahu and Ketu map out our destiny and journey. So the two luminaries, the Sun and the Moon, are important in the D12 chart. The relationship we have with our parents and the relationship our parents have with each other is seen from this chart. The Dashamsha is the D16 chart. The extension of the D4. We see vehicles and fortunes also in this chart. The D4 and the D16 are directly connected to our net worth and all our valuables. So the Moon and Venus would be important in this chart also. The D20 chart, or the Vimshamsha, is connected to our spiritual potential, pursuits and progress. All forms of religion and worship is seen from this chart. So for one on the spiritual journey, this chart becomes important, and all the people performing spiritual rites and works. The Sun and Jupiter would be important for this chart, as these are the grahas for spirituality. The D24 chart, the Chatru Vimshamsha, is seen for academic achievements. So for all the scholars, this chart is quite important. Mercury and Jupiter can be seen as prominent grahas to observe in this chart. The D27, or the Sapta Vimshamsha, is seen for our strengths and weaknesses. When we get into these higher divisions, we will need an incredibly accurate birth time, as the positions and the zodiac change within minutes. The D27, we see health and even the influence of enemies. So the grahas to be seen are Mars and Saturn, being natural significators, or the karakas for the 6th house. The D30, the Trimshamsha chart, is used to see misfortunes. So Saturn, being the karaka for misfortune, would need to be analyzed in this chart. If Saturn is well placed, it shows we easily overcome difficulty. With an accurate birth time, we can analyze the houses also. If planets fall in the Dustana houses, these would be the difficult areas, the planet and all its significations. I will be doing a series on the Dashas. Dashas are a timing method we use to see different effects of a particular planet in our lives in a particular time. So as with all the divisional charts, the planetary time we are in or currently running should be analyzed, as the planet would be having much of the say in all these charts. So with the Dashas, we use these divisional charts also. Parashara also stated that the strength and dignity should be seen from these 16 divisions. The stronger the planet is across all the divisions, the stronger it will produce the results. So planetary strength and timing is the true use of these divisional charts. In the Brihad Parasha Hora Shastra, Parasha also states the D40, the D45 and the D60 charts are given as general indications, although many learned astrologers have used the D40 chart, also known as the Dashamsha chart, as gifts from the maternal side of the family, and the D45 chart, known as the Dashamsha, as gifts from the paternal side, and the Dashamsha, the D60 chart, as the oral signification of the soul's incarnation. Again, these charts can offer clues, although without an accurate birth time, we can hardly use any of these charts. This has been my personal experience. This is the insight of the divisional charts. This can serve as a solid foundation of getting basic understanding of these divisions, which can be used to judge the dasha or the time period we're in and serve as a tool to see planetary strength and dignity. Much dedication and research is required to uncover all the mysteries of Jyotisha and astrology. Next, let us look at the concept of the Dispositor. Please subscribe to the channel, comment, like and share. I'd be most grateful.